All right. So I'm here to talk about, building some remote post-production workflows in the cloud. And recently, Qumulo introduced Studio Q, which is actually in partnership with AWS and a few other great partners here. And so as I jump in, I'll just kind of set the stage a little bit here and why we decided to pursue this. As we started talking to customers, especially in uh, the COVID era and really figuring out how do we create content faster. The COVID era actually created a huge demand for content. So teams were really struggling to figure out, how do I meet these tighter deadlines that we're not collaborating in person, and really figuring out how we scale those workflows and collaboration overall. And the more content you create, the larger data management burden becomes apparent as well. And they really need to invest in these tools to help them do that. So really from that data growth perspective, how do I make it portable? I need to be able to share that with people all over the world. And then again, that collaboration is a must. But also, they were also seeing a lot of talent that was dispersed around the globe. So it's not just a North American or South American or Europe or Asia type of talent pool. It's all over the world. And they really looked at the cloud to help solve that problem. However, there's a big challenge even within cloud itself for a lot of these production shops. One, adoption can be slow and cumbersome for some of these studios because perhaps the IT teams that are managing this for them don't actually have the cloud knowledge or aptitude to be able to pull it over. So that means it takes a longer time to do these deployments overall. And it's a very manual process at first. And then as they get better over time, they can fully automate that process. But it's really getting that set up that becomes a challenge overall. And deployments are not simple. They have a lot of different variables from the compute infrastructure to the network configurations and the applications that they need to run on top of that infrastructure. So IT teams, they need to learn a ton of things in a very short amount of time, which can be also stressful in its own right as well. So that's where we came up with Studio Q, and actually it's this turnkey high performance remote video studio in the cloud, as it says here. And really this has been focused on Adobe Premiere Pro workloads, and that's because we really see that as one of the prominent tools out there in the market, as everyone knows. So what Studio Q does is it actually combines four of the best in-class technology products that are used for editing. So number one is, again, Adobe Premiere Pro. We partner with Teradici for high fidelity, low latency video streaming or desktop streaming to the current workbook or excuse me, the current MacBook or whatever workstation you're using today. And then we partner with AWS on their Quick Start program, which I'll get into a little bit more here in a few minutes as well. And so essentially what this helps you do is just get it up and running quickly and easily. So there's a full stack of components here, and having Qumulo involved in there helps with that data portability. So whether you're on premises and are using Qumulo or not, we can help you migrate that data over to the cloud and create net new workflows there. So you're doing net new content creation that's in the cloud. It can be distributed globally. And so many editors can work on these new pieces of content quickly and easily as well. So why Studio Q? Well, as I mentioned, really the AWS Quick Start is a set of reference architectures. So essentially it means here's a couple of ways you can set it up. Here's some automation that is actually pre-built in. And now you add some components into that mix to be able to push it out. The analogy I always use is it's almost like baking a cake, but instead of going out and have to manufacture your own ingredients and bring it in, you can go to the store, buy those ingredients. Quick Start is the mixer. You put those components in, automatically mixes it and bakes the cake for you. So it's very simple and easy to do. And so you can do all of this in a very short amount of time. So you don't have to spend, again, hours trying to learn a cloud deployment and then spend hours spinning up that environment and then hours getting folks up and running on that side. So you can literally set up 10 workstations in less than an hour from scratch. And again, that's all based off of the quick start architecture. And we've essentially built all of that automation in there to help you, and partnered again with Teradici and Adobe to make sure it's a seamless process all the way through, through and through. So you can get this stuff up easily and get it going quickly. And now, as we start to move to the post-COVID era, it feels like we're turning the corner on that thing. And now, folks have become used to these remote workflows and collaborating from anywhere, anytime, any place. So this is just going to be an extension of that kind of workflow that folks are becoming more and more interested in and used to. And so that's why we really see there's going to be a lot of tailwind behind Studio Q as time comes along. And so this is our trusty mascot here. We call him the Grumpquat. And so he is never happy because he always wants to keep improving and building the product. And so he is very excited about this post-production workflow as well. So, I kind of mentioned a couple of different things here in terms of how you can spin that up quickly. But why Qumulo within the Studio Q workflow? Well, number one, the media and entertainment sector is a huge customer of us on-prem. So we sell a lot into that because of the fact that post-production deals with, or even production in general, deals with a lot of large and small files. And so we can scale up to petabytes of data. So you have all of this data in one single volume, or also known as a namespace, to be able to have it all in one spot. You don't have to have these multiple volumes spread across various different areas of your IT infrastructure. So that's number one. And we can do it quickly and easily. So you can find these files to be able to do a lot of this content creation quickly and easily from that point of view. And then again, the collaboration. So you can have multiple different types of collaboration workstations. So for example, you can have, MacBooks running or Macs on one side. You can have Windows-based machines on another side or in another site. You can even have Linux-based, machines as well. And the fact that we support multi-protocol, meaning that each one of those operating systems speaks a little bit of a different protocol to be able to access that storage. Well, we support all those protocols, so you don't have to worry about setting up various different um, storage vendors to be able to take advantage of that. We help you do it seamlessly, no matter where you are on that side. And then, again, kind of thinking about, you get the same power and performance on-prem and in the cloud. So Qumulo is essentially a software-based solution. We're not tied to any specific proprietary hardware. And you can also move that easily into the cloud. And you get the same experience from a software perspective, whether you're on premises or in the cloud. It's the same product, so you don't have to learn a completely new workflow to try to manage that. All of your automation that you've built around Qumulo on-prem can also be used in the cloud as well. And then when you start to think about that from a specific storage perspective, well, then at the end product, you want to be able to use this Adobe Premiere and the Creative Cloud applications, but you want to have them with the same power that you have on-prem. So that's where Teradici really comes in and says, hey, there's all this great data. You're using this application that you know and love already, and we're going to deliver it with the same fidelity and speed that you would have if you had the machine right in front of you as well. So you can turn almost a mid-level type of workstation that maybe doesn't have all the power that you want to be able to do some other post-production type of steps. You can actually take that machine and now bring it with Cloud Q on-prem, or excuse me, you can bring it from the cloud on-prem with Teradici and have that full fidelity as well. So that's what's really powerful about Studio Q with Qumulo involved, and having AWS, Teradici, and Adobe as part of this partnership. So it's a very powerful thing that we can do overall. So kind of what does that look like? So I've been kind of giving you, you know, some high level points here, but what does that look like overall? So essentially, Cloud Studio is running within AWS. So it is part of that quick start, as I had mentioned earlier. And there's a lot of different angles that can actually take place here. So you have your editors over here, and hopefully you can see my mouse on this slide here. But essentially, you have these editors that are spread across the globe, right? And then you have Teradici, which is that PC over IP that gives that full fidelity overall. And then there's the editorial suite, and you can actually use NVIDIA GPUs within this and attach them to that as well. And then there's a couple of other steps that you can do here on-prem to do, you know, ingest, transcoding, you can capture that data. So one of the big advantages of Qumulo as well, no matter where you are in the production cycle, whether you're creating, ingesting, transforming your data, or archiving it or using it for some other, publishing it from that point of view, we can handle the entire workflow for you, you know, as they say, soup to nuts on all of this stuff. So essentially you can start to do what's called replication on premises, as I mentioned earlier as well here. If you already have on-prem editorial workflows with Adobe Premiere, you can put that up and then sync that as well. So you have this unified workflow, whether again, you're on premises in the cloud. And one other thing I forgot to mention a moment ago, I talked about the media and entertainment space, but really we see this an advantage for all corporate video production as well, not just these, you know, these movie studios that are making, you know, amazing, you know, blockbuster hits like, you know, Avengers and some of these other things, but maybe you're doing some training content for your organization and you need to turn that around quickly and maybe collaborate with a few other outside vendors. This workflow works for the exact same thing as well. And so this is really kind of, again, the architecture that you can see, whether you're, you know, editing, capturing, creating, you need to sync on and off prem, and then you need to obviously finish and doing some transcoding as well. And then you can easily pipe that out to cloud CDNs, content delivery networks, to push that out. One other interesting thing that we do from a storage perspective is once you get your data up into the cloud, it's in what's called native file format. So it's just a type of storage technique. Well, there's another one called object storage, and that's part of AWS's S3, and that's object storage. What we can actually do through our Shift, it's called Qumulo Shift Data Service, we can actually pipe that out to S3, and then you could take advantage of all the native cloud services that AWS has built in. So part of that is, I think, AWS Elemental, I believe it's called. So they have some other production type of services. And then there's also their cloud delivery CDN. So you could publish that and push it to any type of you know, kind of endpoint that you need, whether it's another studio that's taking the final cut or you're delivering it straight to your customers and or employees to train on that perspective overall. And here are some of the customers we have today that are actually using Qumulo on AWS today. Cinesite is, you know, a great case study overall, where, you know, really again with the speed, agility, and those workflows, it really helped them to become competitive in the market. Industrial Brothers is another great one as well. So you know, they can meet those tight production deadlines that I mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation. You know, again, the demands are high, but the time frames are shorter, so they got to be able to crank out content as quickly as possible. So really adding, you know, the business value, and then helping their editors and their consumers be able to take advantage of the, you know, great output that they have. Fuse FX, lastly, here is you know, really about burst scaling. So they are doing a lot of on-premises editing and kind of post-production, but then they want to leverage the cloud to do what's called burst scaling, which means they want to push it up, do some rendering, and use the compute power within the cloud to be able to quickly and easily take advantage of some of the content they've created and transform it as well. And then they can bring that back on premises as well. So these are some great use cases that we have overall. And with that, that's really the end of my presentation. And so maybe we can turn it over to some questions that are in the chat bar here.
We did get a question in from the crowd, and they said, apologies if this was addressed already, but how does this handle 3D workloads? Maya, Cinema 4D, et cetera. Any additional considerations there?
No, not that I know of. As long as Adobe Premiere can support it, we can support the massive amounts of data output that come out of that. And so that's really the key piece on this Studio Q side. Thinking about thinking about broader workflows outside of Adobe Premiere, we're actually partnering with AWS in a different M&E type of workload, which is, I believe they're calling AWS Nimble. And we're one of two of the preferred storage vendors there because of the fact that we can handle these massive type of production workflows and deliverables as well. And so think about Studio Q is very focused on Adobe Premiere workflows and Creative Cloud, whereas Nimble is the entire editorial workflow from everything that I just mentioned on that reference architecture slide. So point is, overall, we can handle that, and depending on the flavor and the applications you're using to create those, the underlying storage for Qumulo can manage those files wherever you need them.